David Caesar with the GW Hatchet for Dr. Knapp. Like any other university, GW has its share of challenges and problems. One of the principal ones is its town-gown relations between GW and the Foggy Bottom community. Building upon your work in Baltimore with Johns Hopkins, how do you plan to specifically address the problems this university has with its Foggy Bottom neighbors?
Yeah, well, since GW is the largest non-governmental employee in the District of Columbia, that's also true of Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. It's a similar kind of situation. It's a very large institution, and therefore it's natural that people would look on it with some questions about what it's up to. And I think one has to anticipate that. One of the great challenges, I think, for any university, because of the complexity of what we do, the range of activities that are engaged in. I mean, I know something about, I certainly know a lot about the activities at Johns Hopkins, something about the activities here of students who are involved in so many volunteer activities and serving as interns and many other capacities around the city. Much of that activity is only of anecdotal knowledge to people in the community. It's not something that's widely visible, and it's not always easy to communicate the breadth of what we're doing in the community, and it's not always easy to explain why we're building the facilities that we're building, or we're moving in the directions in which we're moving. So it's an incredible challenge of communication. I think I've seen that occur fruitfully. I think it's often important, and I understand there was a recent city council meeting here in D.C. in which someone had the great idea of taking some students to that council meeting, where I think they were tremendously effective in persuading the council of the plans that were underway. This had to do with a zoning issue. I don't know any of the details, but I did meet one of the students who participated in that activity. And I've actually found that to be a very effective way of communicating, because I think when people can connect with students and when they can connect with faculty, I think it completely changes the tone of the conversation. So it's not just university administrators versus the leaders of the city. So I think there's a great deal to do to open those doors of communication. The other thing, in my experience, and I found this in more situations than I could count, is that when people feel that they're being listened to, they don't necessarily have to agree with every decision that an institution makes. But they do want to be heard. They do want to be responded to. They want to be included in the process. That's one of the reasons I was so interested in this forum, because the forums did go out to the community. They weren't just internal conversations here at GW. They really did reach out to include the neighbors in those conversations. And again, my experience, frankly, has been that when those discussions take place and people feel included, it does change the tone of the conversation. And so I think the town-gown relations are subject to improvement if one goes about it with the right spirit. So I'm not at all daunted by that prospect. I think the mutual benefits to be exchanged between the institution and the community are really limitless.